Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Mulenge Speaks or Mulenge series. Today we are tackling clip number 19. Mulenge Speaks clip 19. You see John Kapapi here, your host. Welcome you back. I hope you went through all our clips so far and you are beginning to understand the reason why Mulenge can't continue to be silent, because so many things are at stake, and we hope that we have been helping to explain what's going on and how the lies are being spread by the people called Banyarwanda or Congolese of Rwanda origin, living in specifically in South Kivu province in eastern DRC or Democratic Republic of Congo. We'll continue in our topic, Mulenge Speaks for itself and against the Banyarwanda living in South Kivu province. In our last clip, we discussed and demonstrated the role the Mandate System Commission played in defining the status of the indigenous people from both the Kingdom of Burundi and Rwanda that were living at that time in the DRC, then the Belgium Congo. The reason we touched that subject was because the Banyarwanda they have been infesting so many scholars for the past almost 30 to 40 years with false history about them, about their migration in the Congo Free State and in the Belgium Congo. When we know, even our children know, that there exists text, documentation, or archive, videos, and at all level of information, at local or international and the national level, we have documentation that prove how the Banyarwanda came into the DRC. And so many scholars, and especially our new generation of scholars that are graduating from international schools, now that we know we have conflict or resolution programs, many are being interested in studying the Banyarwanda, whether in the country of origin, Rwanda, or in the DRC. And so we saw last time how Saibel, in writing his master's thesis in a conflict of resolution, decided to write on the subject of Banyarwanda living in Eastern Congo. And so he wrote that the Belgian authorities distributed the land to the Banyarwanda because, according to him, the Kingdom of Rwanda and the Kingdom of Burundi were part of the Belgium colony. And we showed you that it was a lie. It wasn't. The Kingdom of Rwanda or the Kingdom of Burundi was not part of the Belgium colony because they were part of the German colony. And so what is motivating the Banyarwanda to continue to destroy the history of Central Africa is very disturbing, and we cannot, especially when it comes to Mulenge, we cannot just stay quiet. We also have to say or to speak out and give our own part of the story, or especially Mulenge have also to speak. That's what we have been doing. And so today we'll touch another subject in regard to the same lie in regard to the Congolese of origin, because that's what the Banyarwanda are claiming, that because they live in DRC, and so they are entitled to be called the Congolese of origin. But we know from the history that we don't have Banyarwanda in Congo that are Congolese of origin, but we have Banyarwanda that became Congolese by naturalization, because as they have been migrating in the Congo, over the years they become Congolese, but not because they were Congolese origin. And so today we're gonna talk about what I call the Mobutu syndrome. The Mobutu syndrome is the teaching that the Banyarwanda are spreading around the continent and around the globe. Especially they are teaching their own children that any evil life or anything that is wrong that they are facing, anything wrong that they are facing today or yesterday, it is somebody else's fault. It is Mobutu's fault. It is the indigenous people from Uvira, from South Kivu, the Barega, the Bashi, the Bavira, the Babembe, the Bafuliru. It is somebody else's fault. It is never their fault. So that's what I call the Mobutu syndrome. So they accuse Mobutu for what they are going through today because he denied them their nationalities. They accuse every other person who tried to explain exactly what happened and why we have what is happening today in Eastern Congo. So everything that they say, if we follow them very well, it is somebody else's fault, including Mobutu, including Kasavubu, including Kabila, the father. And we won't be surprised if tomorrow we hear that the MONUSCO, it is also their fault that they are being mistreated in Eastern Congo. And so we're going to see that it is not Mobutu's fault, because before Mobutu came to power, the situation of the Banyarwanda was already dealt with at the inside the fundamental law of May 1959. In French, they call la loi fondamentale de Mai 1959. The question of the Banyarwanda was also dealt with at the Congo Roundtable of January and February 1960. So, à la table ronde congolaise de janvier à février 1960, la question des Banyarwanda était déjà posée. Et elle était posée. So we try to see that we should leave Mobutu out of this issue of Congolese origin, because he was already tackled before Mobutu came to power. But we know that because now is a general issue that everybody who speak against the Banyarwanda is xenophobic, or they call him a racist, or that he does not like or he's against the Banyarwanda, which is not true, because the truth hurts. The truth always is there, whether it is hidden, but it remains the truth. And then what we're going to explain here is that though Mobutu had a role to play when he enacted his own laws in 1971 and 1972, but the Congolese Roundtable in January and February 1960 and the fundamental law of May 1959 already explained what was going to happen at June 30th, 1960 and beyond. And that's what we're going to explain here. And so we'll see that the law that Mobutu passed and how it was not him, but he was following in the footsteps of the fundamental law of Congo of May 1959 and also of the Congo Roundtable of January to February 1960. So we have the fundamental law of May 59, the Roundtable of February 1960, and the Mobutu laws of 1971 and 72. Of course, we can't bypass the Constitution of Lulwabur of August 1964. And we can also see as we go through these laws, we also even touch the law of 2006 and how it defined what is the Congolese of origin, or who is a Congolese in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So, but before we look into this resolution, the resolution 11 is called La Résolution 11, or the resolution 11 that was adopted at Congolese Roundtable in January to February 1960. Let us go back and roll the tape. Remember in a few clip back, I told you that Dr. Kaniki, who was one of the 3 panelists invited to speak about the crisis in the DRC, they were invited by Pastor Scott Sittig. Dr. Kaniki said that the Banyarwanda, their forefather or their grandfather came from 3 areas, from 3 countries, from Burundi, from Rwanda, and from Tanzania, and they came into the Congo Free State in 1804. Then in following years to the 20th centuries. So according to Dr. Kaniki, their ancestors or their grandparents came to the present Congo in 1804, contradicting all other Banyarwanda when they are giving their argument that their forefather came in the 1800 or 18th centuries, meaning 1759, 1778, and 1779. And we also saw that all those dates, they don't correspond to the history that we know, because everything is leading to during Rwabugiri reign, which was between 1860 to 1895. But they are not talking about that. They are going all the way back. But according to Dr. Kaniki here, he said that their forefather came from 1804 to going forward. And so he added another paragraph in that video. If you go back and then watch that video, you see that there's another paragraph that he added there, which says, I quote, "When the Congo was under the Belgian colony, the Banyarwanda were part of many tribes in Eastern Congo or in the entire Congo." I'm going to repeat that again. When the Congo was under the Belgian colony, the Banyarwanda were part of many tribes in Eastern Congo or in the entire Congo. If you can look very well or listen very well to what I just said, when the Congo was under the Belgian Congo, the Banyamulenge, which means the Banyarwanda here, were part of many tribes. He did not say that they were one of many tribes, but they were part of the many tribes. That means if we break them down, they were clans. Because you can't have a tribe that is part of another tribe, or one tribe that is part of many tribes. And we know that the Banyarwanda that we know from the history, that we know that the Banyarwanda by itself is a tribe, within which we have the Hutu today, the Tutsi today, and the Twa today, or the Batwa. Those 3 classes belong to one tribe, the Banyarwanda. So if the Banyarwanda were in the Congo or in the Congo Free State, how come that they belong to other tribes when we know that there's only one tribe? In fact, I don't know if you, who is watching me today, I don't know if you have ever heard in any book, anywhere, from any politician, who says that the Banyarwanda came from Congo to Rwanda. But it is always the other way around. The Banyarwanda people that we know today live in Congo, live in everywhere in the globe today, they came from Rwanda and migrated to the Congo. So it is not the Banyarwanda that were living in Congo and then crossed the border, the Lake Kivu and the Ruzizi River, and crossed into the Rwanda. But it is them, the Banyarwanda from Rwanda, that crossed into the Congo. So that means it is a tribe that crossed from, in Rwanda, the kingdom of Rwanda, crossing into the kingdoms of Congo. Because at that time, when we had the Congo Free State, the Congo Free State was like an empire that comprised different nationalities, different kingdoms. And kingdoms were states, were political entity with a monarch or a king or roi, with political structures, a government, a judiciary system, economic system, and a cultural system. Everything was established. So you can't speak or you can't talk about a tribe if you don't see a kingdom, if you don't see a king. And so when Dr. Kaniki here, who is a Munyarwanda, says that they were part of many tribes, I don't know what he's talking about. Unless you do. If you do, maybe you can help us. Put your a comment under this video here. Maybe you can explain what it means that the Banyarwanda were part of many tribes, when the Banyarwanda by themselves is already one tribe from Rwanda. So how can they be part of many tribes in the Congo? It does not make any sense. Anyway, let us continue. So the paragraph does not make sense because we know that there were some tribes that were already collected in the 1920, 1930. There are books, there are documents that are present, that are available about the kingdoms that were existing at that time. But none of them has the name Banyarwanda. So if we cannot understand this line of history, at least from our own perspective, they know what they're talking about, but we don't know. And we know they're trying to deceive us. One thing that we know is that Mobutu was not a stupid person. Those that represented the newly Congolese society that are going to be born by June 30th, 1960, they were not stupid people. They went to represent us at the Congolese Roundtable in January, February 1960. They were not stupid. They knew what they were talking about. Those who met and then wrote down the constitution or the law or the La Loi Fondamentale or the fundamental law of May 1959, they were not stupid. Because, for example, in 1959, one section of that law, Article 87 of that law, says this. That Article 87 says, the Senate shall comprise senators elected at provincial level with 14 senators per province, including at least 3 kings or customary chiefs or notables. So they knew already, as they were preparing the Congo, the newly Congo country now, or nation, they knew that there existed some customary chiefs. And so they said, for political reason, for every province, we're going to have 14 senators. Among them, make sure there are 3 kings or customary chiefs or notables. And then in French, as we translate customary chief or notable, in French it says, le Sénat se compose de sénateurs élus par assemblée provinciale à raison de 14 sénateurs par province, dont au moins 3 chefs coutumiers ou chefs de chefferie ou notables, chefs de groupement dans le secteur. Chef de chefferie. And we know that chefferie means kingdom. And the Banyarwanda did not have any kingdom. So they could not be senators, because at this time, maybe they could have been senators, but they could not be chief customary chief because they did not have any kingdom. Or notable, chef de groupement dans le secteur, because they were, as we saw in previous clip, they have never been chef de groupement. They have never been grouping chief. But we know that some of them became chef de village or village chief. They did, but not grouping chief or king ruling a kingdom or a traditional state. That's the fundamental law of 1959. Now, what does the Congolese Roundtable of January to February 1960 say? So now if we go to resolution number 11, relative to election, because they were preparing, remember, they were preparing in June here, that's the date they chose that they're going to have the independence of Congo. So they are preparing people to be politically ready for self-government. And so point 3 of section A of this resolution 11 says, for the upcoming election, the right to vote is subordinate to the following condition. Be a Congolese. I'm reading point 3 of this section A, because point A says you have to be a Congolese, and the other one you have to be 21 years old. And now point 3 now here of this section A says that you have to be a Congolese or have a Congolese mother. Then they add something very interesting. They add the nationals of Rwanda, Urundi residing in Congo at least since 10 years are also permitted or authorized to vote. I'm going to repeat that section. Point 3 of section A of resolution 11 of the Congolese Roundtable. La résolution 11 de la table ronde congolaise de janvier à février 1960 tenue à Bruxelles, en Belgique. Le point 3 de la section A concernant les élections qui allaient avoir lieu pendant la période de l'indépendance en 1960, en juin 1960, la section dit, in English it says, for the upcoming election, the right to vote is subordinate to the following condition. The third condition says, be a Congolese or have a Congolese mother. Then they add, the nationals of Rwanda, Urundi residing in Congo at least since 10 years are also permitted or authorized to vote. So, my friend, if you are a Congolese origin, why can't these representatives that were here at this roundtable not even mention the nationals of Rwanda, Urundi? They should have just said the Congolese should be Congolese or have a mother who is Congolese and be 21 years old. But why did they add the national of Rwanda residing in Congo if they were already Congolese? If they had them here, that means they were not Congolese at all, because they still had a status which we saw in the section of mandate, that they were called les ressortissants du Rwanda Urundi. And before that, before the 1919, they were the indigenous of neighboring colony, according to the royal decree of 1891 and 1910. These two decrees specified who those indigenous of neighboring country were. And so they were the Banyarwanda because they belonged to the king of Rwanda and Burundi, and they were member or subject of the German colony. So they were not Congolese because, as the resolution 11 says here, the national of Rwanda or Burundi resided in Congo at least 10 years. This is in June 1960. And Mobutu now is coming after, even after the Constitution of 64. So we cannot say that, accuse every person, every child who is born in Congo, who does not understand the language of the Banyarwanda today, that is against the Banyarwanda, that is a racist. In 1959 we saw, in 1960 now, again, it is clear here that the Banyarwanda were not Congolese at all. though they were residing in the Congo. And remember, according to the Mandate System Commission, the Belgium were preparing the Banyarwanda for their self-government, for political self-government. That's why they gave them this opportunity to vote. But they were not eligible to become senators, to become a representative, but they had to vote to give them that exercise, to be prepared to exercise their political rights when they get their own independence, which we know happened in 1962. So my friend, I'll stop here, and then in the next clip, we're going to talk about Mobutu syndrome by going through the law of August 1964, which is called the Constitution of Luabur. What did he say about the nationality? Were the Banyarwanda included? If they were included, how did they frame that sentence? And also, we'll see the law that Mobutu enacted in 1971 and 1972. How did he frame it? Did he follow the footstep of 1959, the fundamental law? Did he follow in the footstep of the Roundtable of 1960? Did he follow in the footstep of the Constitution of Luabur 1964? We're gonna even jump to the recent events that are happening when themselves, the Banyarwanda, there are so many in the government, the previous government, Kabila father and Kabila son, there are so many in those governments. Still, the Constitution of 2006 is defining who is a Congolese origin. Still, they are not part of that definition. And so we'll see that in the next clip. And the following clip, we'll talk about rebellion. The rebellion that took place in 1964 to 1965. And we'll again call back Dr. Kaniki to show you what he said about rebellion, which we call the rebellion, Mulenge rebellion, what he said, and then we'll try to compare to what history says. So I welcome you again, and I say thank you for visiting, and thank you for watching this, but I want to pay attention that the Banyarwanda are claiming the Congolese origin, but there's nowhere in any documentation, whether in Africa or in Europe, there's no documentation that identified them as such. Before 1960, there were no Banyarwanda that were Congolese of origin. And if today they are claiming on the name Mulenge, it's because they want to have that status. But the Bavira, the Bafulero, the Babembe, the Bashi cannot accept that. Mulenge is again a traditional site, is a traditional name, is a Bafulero name, is a Bafulero village, hill. So we cannot give it away. And for traditional reason, we need to teach our children what are our tradition, our customs, and that's who we are. And Mulenge is part of us, so we are not ready for any other person coming from Rwanda, coming from any other part of the DRC to take that heritage for their own benefit. So thank you again for watching. We hope you're gonna read the description, try to share, and comment if you have to, and see you next time. Thank you.